Get a credit card that gives you what you need now. A low interest rate on everyday purchases and a place to transfer high interest rate balances. The PenFed Gold Contactless Card is our lowest interest rate credit card. You can even earn a $100 statement credit when you spend $1,500 in the first 90 days. Join PenFed and together we can help you keep more of what's yours. Visit penfed.org/goldcard. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
The Peel Art Gallery, Museum and Archives, also known as PAMA, is pleased to partner with Caribbean Art Fair, Black Artist Network and Dialogue, and guest curators Karen Carter and Greg Manuel to present When Night Stirred at Sea, Contemporary Caribbean Art. This exhibit aims to connect Caribbean artists to the broader art world and includes local and international talent, including Brampton's own Janice Reid. The exhibit begins on October 29th virtually and eventually on site once PAMA reopens to the public. For more information, please visit pama.peelregion.ca.
You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to New Theory Radio, the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa and I am your host. We are coming to you live here on News Talk, Saga 960 AM. New Theory Radio is presented by PAMA, the Peel Art Gallery, Museum, and Archives. And that's actually a great segue to what we have in store for today's show. We are going to be talking about PAMA's new exhibit, When Night Stirred at Sea, which is in partnership with Caribbean Art Fair, the Black Artist Network and Dialogue, and guest curators Karen Carter and Greg Manuel. It begins virtually this Thursday, October 29th, and you can check it out at pama.peelregion.ca. And the exhibition brings together works by several English Caribbean artists to reflect on the breadth of contemporary aesthetic practices within the broader Caribbean community. And joining us to talk about this further will be PAMA's Rene, Nand and Sharona Clements, as well as well-known photographers Janice, Reid, and Christina, both of which are a part of this exhibit. We are going to talk about how this exhibit came to PAMA, its relevance to the Peel community, and what kind of doors could this potentially open for Black artists, not just within Peel, but within the broader community. So I'm really looking forward to talking to all four individuals. And then we switch gears to talk about Halloween. Obviously, Halloween will be looking a little different this year because of the pandemic, but that's not stopping anyone from celebrating. And a popular way that people are celebrating is through movie marathons. So outside of the classics like Nightmare on Elm Street, Jason, and Scream, there's got to be some underrated movies out there that are worth checking out. So joining me to talk about underrated Halloween-themed movies is film critic and New Theory alum Amanda Garaji. And from moviesmatrix.com, I have contributing writer AJ Fairnot, both of which are going to share their favorite underrated Halloween/horror movies. And who knows, I might even ask them what they believe is an overrated Halloween/horror themed movie. So I can't wait to talk to both Amanda and AJ about that. All this and more in this week's NTR. So again, I do thank you for tuning in. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but then when we come back, we're going to be talking about When Night Stirred at Sea, the Caribbean contemporary art exhibit that's coming to PAMA this Thursday, October 29th, here on News Talk, Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
I told you that I want to go to that festival in Sweden.
No, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity and I decided
Look,
to do it.
I don't mind you going. I just wish you would have told me, that's all.
Dude, she needs a therapist. You've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
And don't forget about all of the beautiful Swedish women you'll meet in June.
Okay, guys.
That's not her again. Seriously?
Babe, what's happening? Danny.
Hello and welcome back to New Theory Radio, the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. And New Theory Radio is presented by PAMA, the Peel Art Gallery, Museum, and Archives. You are tuned in to Saga 960 AM. And in about a couple of days, or I would say in about a week or so, we are going to be officially into Halloween. And obviously Halloween is looking a lot different this year because of the pandemic. So a couple people within my inner circle are going to be celebrating Halloween differently through many different means, whether it be through movie marathons, whether it be just eating a lot of candy. But I figured to really get into the Halloween spirit and the fact that a lot of people won't be trick-or-treating and definitely opting to stay indoors, I thought, why not talk about maybe some underrated Halloween movies that maybe a lot of us have missed over the years. So I'm not talking about your Freddys or your Jasons. I want to talk about movies that you probably have never heard of, movies that you never thought were a Halloween movie, movies that probably fell under the radar and that people have no idea about that are probably must watch during this time. And if I'm going to do a movie segment, it's only right that I bring on two professionals. One is an individual that we're very familiar with on New Theory Radio. We've had her on a bunch of times already. She always brings the goods every time she comes on NTR. She is our good friend, our resident movie critic, as well as hot taker, Amanda Garaji. Amanda, so much for being on New Theory Radio.
Thank you so much for having me, Nav. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And you brought a friend. You brought someone from Movie Matrix, a website that I believe is the rabbit hole when it comes to movie and entertainment news, clues, and reviews. It is live from Kentucky, AJ Fairnot. AJ, thanks so much for joining us on NTR.
Oh, thank you for having me. And thank Amanda for inviting me. She's amazing, as always.
So I'm just going to get right into it. Actually, first and foremost, Amanda, I've seen you throw this phrase around social media every now and then, and maybe I'm aging myself because I'm in my early 30s. I'm a father now. But what does spooky season mean?
Okay, so that I started using it, I'd say 2 or 3 years ago, and it just kind of stuck. I don't know where it just came from. I think I used it in an Instagram caption at one point, and I'm like, you know what? It's spooky season, so now we're just going to keep using it from now on, okay? Actually, it's how I categorize the films, like the film list on Letterboxd, which is a fantastic app that everyone should get if you want to log your films. So I made a list 3 years now, and I put like spooky season. I named it spooky season. So every single film that I watch for the 31 days of October for like Halloween, I would log them there under that list. So then it just kind of stuck, and I just like forced spooky season on everyone. And now during like the pandemic, we started early on September 1st because Halloween deserves 2 months.
Yes. And I also feel like Christmas will be given the same treatment on November 1st.
100%.
Well, to be fair, fall starts by like mid of September anyway.
Yeah. So I guess it's fair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating because I do see spooky season coined quite a bit online, and I'll be honest, I feel like you're the originator. So
thank you.
If I were you, I'd copyright that ASAP.
Definitely.
But so you're telling me, so 31 days, you've been watching movies for 31 days straight? Or is that your plan? Are you on movie number 20, I guess, as of this recording?
Yeah, so I actually checked this morning and I watched 22 horror films or Halloween films so far. Sometimes I double up if I know that like I'm not going to be able to do the full 31 days. So I just want to make like a concrete list. I actually watched more Halloween or horror films this year than I've done in like previous years.
Wow. AJ, are you doing the same thing?
Not really. I started it. Well, actually, yes, I am with watching movies. I was planning on doing reviews each day, but that just went off the rails because I'm doing like a Comic Coliseum over at Movie Matrix articles. Right now I'm doing Pennywise versus Candyman.
Oh wow, okay.
Which is taking a minute. So I've been focusing on that instead of my reviews like I told myself I was going to do. But yeah, I've actually been watching a lot of horror movies like every October for me, basically. It's like I said, my brain is all over the place because I love horror movies with a passion.
Yeah.
And just right now. Movies and then articles just together.
It's an
Blowing my brain,
explosion, a
though.
brain
Yeah.
explosion.
It's true. It's true.
So wait, I'm just gonna start there. What makes a good Halloween movie? Does it necessarily have to be scary?
For me, I think it just has to have a really strong story. I think that's what stands out to me the most. Like, I know my favorite films are like slasher films in that case. Like, I love Scream. Scream's like my number one pick ever. But I've noticed that as I've gotten older, I pay attention more to the storyline and the character development, and if that is strong enough to make me think about it after I finish watching it.
Interesting.
Yeah. For me, it's a little bit of both. Sometimes it has to be horrifying, but at the same time, it can be comedic at times. Like for a Nightmare on Elm Street, you know how Freddy is very overdramatic, but at the same time, like the core concept of Nightmare on Elm Street is very horrifying. You can't go to sleep or you'll die. Basically, that's that. I don't. If that doesn't scare you, then I don't know what's wrong with you. But yeah, story is very important to me as well. But for me, it's not the end all be all for me. Like I said, slashers are my favorite as well. I grew up watching Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Freddy versus Jason. I really love that movie so much. I really love corny Halloween movies as well, horror movies as well. So I guess it depends on how entertained I am with each movie. So it's not really like the story of itself, but just like the core concept of it, behind each of the movies.
Because like it's interesting because when you think about Christmas, you have a group of people that really appreciate Christmas and will watch those super hot take, those horrible Hallmark movies that come on TV, right? Like I know people that will do the full run. Like you too.
Yeah.
Both
My
you guys?
mother. No,
Oh,
my mother.
My mom does it too.
She told me tonight. Literally, I was having dinner. She's like, "Amanda, guess what? The Hallmark Christmas movies are going to start soon." I'm like, "Mom, I don't care."
Wait, does she watch all of the Christmas stories? Does she watch those
Yes.
back to
Oh
back
my God.
to back?
Yes.
Every single day.
Are they
It's
starting
on.
early? Are they starting early this year because
That's
of the
what they
pandemic?
said. Apparently, that's what they said. So my
my
mom told me,
God.
and I'm like, "Mom, I don't pay attention to that stuff." But okay, sure.
Amanda, are you going to review them?
Oh my God. My dad actually has a Letterboxd account. I made one for him.
Yeah.
And every time I go check, it's a new Hallmark Christmas movie. And I'm like, "Buddy, I'm so sorry I left you downstairs." You have to go log them now.
That is hilarious. That is so funny. Because like that's the way I think about it is when you have people that are in the festive mood, doesn't matter good or bad, they're just gonna watch it. They're just gonna take it in. So I'm guessing, AJ, the way you were describing it, Halloween has that same effect for you, and probably the same for you, Amanda.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you're watching it with family. Like we were just talking about Christmas movie. I think Christmas movies are made to be watched with family because they're so wholesome. But at the same time, it's the same thing with Halloween movies, but the opposite effect. You watch Halloween with family just to get a rise out of each other or just to see if someone gets scared and stuff like that. And I really love that.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch a Halloween movie with like a group of people because the running commentary from people, I think that makes the movie that much better. I remember watching Scream 4 in theaters with my best friends in high school. And one of my guy friends is really just loud and obnoxious. And he commented on every single jump scare in Scream 4 in a packed theater. And it was just the greatest memory that I have. It's great.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You are tuned into New Theory Radio here on Saga 960 AM. We are talking underrated Halloween movies. I think that's a great segue to just the question that I wanted to ask you both. What are some underrated Halloween movies? Because obviously people like to watch the classics like Freddy, Jason, even Scream. I know, Amanda, you were posting some Scream memes or some Scream clips recently on your Twitter account. But what are some movies that maybe we're not really paying attention to, and maybe we're missing when it comes to this occasion? And AJ, let's begin with you, because I know you're doing a bit of a deep dive right now on movies Matrix when it comes to comparing characters. What's an underrated Halloween movie that you think doesn't get its due?
It's not really a Halloween movie. It's more of a horror. I guess we'll categorize.
Yeah. Horror's fine too. Yeah.
But a lot of people. Amanda actually just recently watched this. Train of Busan.
Oh,
I
okay.
think a lot of people don't watch. The people that watch it love it, but there's so many people that haven't watched it because it's a foreign film, and I feel like. What's the word? I just feel like because it's a foreign film, a lot of people don't want to watch it because they're scared that it might be bad. But it's hard to explain it. But I forgot who the director is, actually. Hold on. Sang Ho Young, I think it's the name.
Where's it from? Where's the movie from?
Korea. I think it's Korea, right?
Yeah, it's Korea. Yeah.
Korea, yeah.
Korean cinema killing it.
They are amazing. Korea, Japan. I love foreign films. That's probably one of my favorite things in the world because I'm an anime fan. A lot of people know that about me on movie Matrix. But yeah, Train to Busan is very underrated. Highly recommended because everybody who has watched it ends up loving it anyway. So,
Amanda, the floor is yours. I'm curious.
Yeah, honestly, I have a couple, so it's hard to like narrow it down. But I knew AJ was gonna take Train to Busan. I knew he was gonna say it.
I gotta watch this movie.
It's on Amazon Prime now because that's how I watched it.
Amazing. Okay, cool.
I watched it last night. Literally, I was yelling at the screen. It was amazing. So please watch it. I absolutely adore Mike Flanagan as a director. He recently just did The Haunting of Bly Manor. He also on Netflix, and he did The Haunting of Hill House, which are both fantastic series. One of his films is also on Netflix, and it's called Hush. So it's about a woman. She's a writer, and she lives in the middle of this forest, and her house is it's all glass, right? So she could see outside. And that's already scary enough. Like, you're by yourself in the middle of a forest. You can see outside in the dark. Like, it's not a good time. But she's a writer, and she is deaf, and she's mute as well. So Flanagan really plays with the sound design. He plays with technology as well because she's getting messages from the person hunting her or like stalking her like that. So it's really unique. It's currently on Netflix. I highly recommend it. And then I'm just going to slide this in because I know AJ knows that I love this movie so much. I absolutely love The Shining.
Oh, yes.
I love The Shining. So the sequel to The Shining, which didn't get enough recognition. I just watched the director's cut a couple days ago. And it is fantastic because he takes what Stanley Kubrick did in The Shining, and then he added his own spin on it, and he put it together, and it was just fantastic. So those are two from Mike Flanagan that I highly recommend people watch.
There's a lot with Dr. Sleep. There's a lot more world building within that movie, and it expands on from The Shining, which I really love.
Yeah.
And the one thing I do love about it is with The Shining, it was a horror movie, but at the same time, it didn't feel like a horror movie.
Yeah, it was a very captivating story. I remember watching it as a kid, actually, like watching it when I was like 10, 11, randomly on like CHCH and being very captivated by it even then.
Yeah, it's more story driven more than anything. But with Dr. Sleep, where it is story driven, but it does rely on those horror tropes more so than The Shining, I would say. And that's what I really love about it, even more so than The Shining, even though The Shining is a huge classic.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been seeing Dr. Sleep pop up a lot. It's a bit of a sleeper, no pun intended. But to me, it kind of has that reputation. Like, I think, Amanda, you put it correctly in regards to it just kind of came and went. And I remember seeing the trailer. I believe Dr. Sleep came out last year, right?
Yep, last year.
Was it? Because I feel like I may have seen the trailer before I saw the Joker. Was that
When did the Joker came out?
Joker
2019.
October? Yeah.
Yeah, so the Joker came out October 3rd of last year.
Yeah.
And then what happened was with Doctor Sleep, it was a November release date.
Okay.
I have no idea why. That's like Warner Brothers' fault. But they had a pre-screening October 30th or October 29th. And I ran to the theater for that one.
Yeah.
But they scheduled it for the 21st. But because it's a Warner Brothers property, that's probably why you saw the trailer with the Joker.
Gotcha.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, because to me, I feel like The Shining is such a beloved movie that Doctor Sleep should have been a bigger event, I guess. Like
100%.
you think about Ratchet on Netflix. Like I think a lot of the appeal is, hey, if you like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you should watch Ratchet. And I was explaining that to my wife because we were watching Ratchet together and she hadn't seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I was just telling her just, how like just the backstory of the character of Ratchet, how this is kind of prevalent based on the character in that movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I find it interesting now that I'm seeing Doctor Sleep pop up quite a bit because it almost has like a cult following to it.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. And especially like through Twitter, we can talk about it and we can advise people to watch certain films. And I think that's what's so great about the platform, even though we always get into arguments at the end of the day. But it's still good to like promote these underrated, treasures that we have.
Okay, so my next logical question, and I don't think any of you are prepared for it, but I'm sure you guys can answer it. What's an overrated Halloween movie? And Amanda, we'll begin with you.
Oh God, I'm pretty sure I've said I've hated something.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
You know what it is? Tell me, because
it's Hereditary.
It is Hereditary. Thanks.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Okay. So I went to go watch that. It was a double feature for my friend's birthday, and we had gone to watch Ocean's 8 before we went to go watch Hereditary, which was a stupid move because you would have done the horror movie before the comedy. I don't know why I did this to myself. So it was at 10 o'clock at night. I went to go watch Hereditary. The first two acts are fantastic. Toni Collette's acting was brilliant. She deserved an Oscar nomination for that. Mm. And it was more of like, it was a family drama. That's where it was driven. And it kind of annoyed me that in the third act, it kind of falls apart. And it turns into this like satanic cult type of film, like a supernatural satanic cult ending with the son's character. Is it Alex Wolff or Nat Wolff? One of those two.
I can't remember. Yeah,
I can't remember. But one of those two, and it felt so disjointed from the first half of the film, and like everyone praises it. But I love the filmmaking. The camera work from Ari Aster is like fantastic. He's really, really talented. I just don't think the story and that big of a twist worked for Hereditary in that case.
AJ, do you feel the same?
I do not feel the same.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
With me, Hereditary, I have to disagree with her a little bit because that demonic type of storyline that was within that, I feel like it was hinted at throughout the beginning of each act, I would say. And then it was more so developed a lot more. I will say that it became a little dramatic. I would agree with that. But I feel like it flowed well, for me at least. That specific story arc within Hereditary. The way I see it with most people is I think they focus more on the audition, like the acting and stuff with the actors and actresses. And that's probably one of the reasons why they love Hereditary so much, because no one can debate that every single one of them was amazing in Hereditary. Yeah. So with me, I love the story. I love the acting. I love the direction Ari Aster did with this. So I love this movie.
So what's your choice? What's an overrated Halloween or horror movie?
For me, actually, it's an Ari Aster movie as well. Midsummer. Midsummer. So many people.
Ari's just getting hate, like a love and hate on this.
So many people adore this movie.
I do.
Amanda is one of them. And I'm over here saying, what in the hell is going on with every moment? I have no idea what's going on. I'm still confused, and I watched it twice.
Wow.
Maybe I have to watch it 3 times. I don't know. But
Yes.
maybe I'm dumb.
No.
I just don't understand the movie at all.
Oh man. I'm gonna have to watch all of these flicks now and do
Should.
a follow up episode to all of your comments. Just to kind of close this segment out, a conversation that I had with a coworker a few days ago revolved around a specific movie and whether it's a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie. So I'd love to get both of your perspectives on it. The Nightmare Before Christmas, Tim Burton classic. I didn't know this. I love that movie. And I always saw it as a Christmas movie, but I know some people that really enjoy watching it during Halloween. And I'd love to get both of your perspectives on it. Is this a Halloween movie or is this a Christmas movie? Amanda, speaking with you.
So I watched it for the first time actually last year.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Because I had recently I subscribed to Disney Plus, and I think that's where I watched it. I'm like, you know what? I've never seen it, and it's Halloween, and I want to watch it. So funny enough, I actually watched it October 30th to kind of like bridge that to November 1st. That's when technically Christmas starts. So that's kind of the cop-out answer if you want to go with that. But I do think that it's more of a Christmas movie. I'd have to say it's a Christmas movie because you're transitioning into that world, I think. And I would classify it as that. It's more of just I don't want to say a feel-good film, but you're presenting what the Christmas spirit is in that case. So I'd lean more towards a Christmas movie.
AJ, what about you?
I'm going to say it's a nice mold of the two. I'm not going to say it's more of a Christmas movie. I'm not going to say it's more of a Halloween movie. It does transition over nicely into a Christmas movie, which I do love. But what I do love is how it can be scary, but at the same time, how wholesome it is, like what Amanda said. And for me, that's probably one of the reasons why I think it's nice that Tim Burton did that, to have it like half and half for me, basically. So it's, for me, it's, oh God, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. For me, the reason why I love this movie is because how beautiful he does with the mold between horror and how wholesome it is and what the true meaning is of Christmases with Nightmare Before Christmas, sorry.
Yeah.
And I just love just the mold between the two. So for me, it's a nice mold between Halloween and Christmas.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a good first 2 weeks of November movie. That's what I'm hearing from you. as we transition from Halloween to Christmas. Wanted to give the both of you huge props for coming on New Theory Radio to talk about underrated and overrated Halloween movies. If anybody wanted to check out any of the work that you guys are doing, you guys are both fun follows on Twitter. This is your opportunity to plug whatever you're working on. AJ, tell us more about the series that you're doing for Movies Matrix.
Okay, so with the Comic Coliseum, the basic thought of it is that I just put up against 2 comic book characters together or 2 anime characters together. But because it's Halloween, I just thought that doing a horror type thing, it doesn't have to be comic book related or anything. So I just did a movie thing with It, Pennywise, and Candyman.
Wow, nice.
And I don't know. I just haven't, for me, I haven't really seen any verses with those 2 that much. And I thought it was a good challenge for me. And lo and behold, it is a challenge because it's taken me a minute. And it is taking a lot of thought on who I think would win. But at the same time, just trying to make other people process it differently than me. So I'm trying to give like different situations on who might win or who might lose and stuff like that. So that's the one thing that I'm doing right now. Then in November, I'm actually doing, oh crap, what am I doing? Oh, I am doing Wolverine versus Black Panther,
Oh,
which
nice.
I'm
Wow.
very excited for as well. So that's what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. And if anybody wants to connect with you on social media, what's the best way?
You can follow me at AJ_Geek Vibes. I'm always on Twitter. If you want to talk about movies, I'm there. If you want to talk about comic books, manga, I'm there. Anime, I'm there. Video games, I'm there. Like I said, my brain is all over the place. You can talk to me about anything, basically.
I love it. I love it. Hey, Candyman's very underrated. That was a movie I saw as a kid, and he freaked me out. And I'm sad that the newer version got pushed out, but
I'm
it's probably
so
for the
excited for
better.
the newer one.
Yeah, it looks hype. It looks hype. Amanda, you're always up to something. What's the best way, or what are you working on, and what's the best way that the audience can connect with you?
Yeah, so you guys can always find me at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'm also contributing writer to Movies Matrix, just like AJ. So right now I'm trying to, I have a couple of interviews that I have to do. I was asked to cover a horror film festival for next week.
Nice. Awesome.
So I'm pretty pumped about that. I get to interview some filmmakers. So that's going to be the next step. As for the Movies Matrix team, we are actually gearing up for an action movie draft, which is going to be November 7th and 8th, AJ. Am I right?
Yep, that's right.
Wow. So what we do recently, we just did a horror movie draft, 2 separate groupings, and they both had 2 different columns of horror films to draft from. So it's kind of like a fantasy draft, just like in sports, but with movies. So now we're doing the action movie draft, and we're really excited for November 7th and 8th. Yeah, it's live on the Movies Matrix.
Another thing with that, we are doing a giveaway with John Wick 3. We're doing a giveaway on that one.
Oh, so nice.
If you can, join us live and give us your thoughts on our picks, or choose your picks within the chat, and you might be able to win a copy of John Wick 3. Digital code, not the physical copy.
Who needs the physical nowadays, right?
I love physical.
Me too.
I love
me
it
too.
With passion.
Yeah.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah. But hey, drafts are always fun, so I'll definitely tune into that. I think that's going to be a fun one. But Amanda and AJ, thanks again for joining us here on New Theory Radio. Go check them out on moviesmatrix.com, as well as other different platforms such as Twitter. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to have more New Theory Radio here on News Talk Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
Welcome back to New Theory Radio here on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. New Theory Radio is proud to partner with PAMA, the Peel Art Gallery Museum and Archives, for their new exhibit, When Night Stirred at Sea, Contemporary Caribbean Art. This is in partnership with Caribbean Art Fair, the Black Artists Network and Dialogue, as well as guest curators Karen Carter and Greg Manuel. This exhibition brings together works by several English Caribbean artists to reflect on the breadth of contemporary aesthetic practices within the broader Caribbean community. The grouping of works explore a variety of urgent and common themes of identity, colonization, as well as social activism and justice that connect all of humanity in our current global condition. Joining me right now to talk about this exhibit in greater detail, I have from PAMA, Rene Nand, who is the Manager of Community and Cultural Engagement, as well as Sharona Clements, who is a curator at the museum. In addition, I also have two prominent photographers who will be displaying their works as a part of the exhibit. I have Brampton's own Janice Reid, as well as Toronto-based photographer Christina Leslie. Everybody, thanks so much for joining me here on New Theory Radio.
Hi.
Thank you.
Having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Sharona, I guess we'll start with you. One thing I love about this exhibit is just the partners that you have involved. And I was curious, how did these partnerships come to be, specifically with Caribbean Art Fair Band and the two curators?
Right. Well, actually, we were very fortunate because Karen Carter, who you were just mentioning, she's the creative director of CART, which is Caribbean Art Fair. She actually approached us, I think it was late last year, with the idea of developing a large-scale survey exhibition about Caribbean art. And she was already planning for the first Caribbean Art Fair to take place in Mandeville, Jamaica. It was actually earlier this year. I think it was in January, late January, early February. And she wanted to expand on the idea and on its reach beyond the island. And so her enthusiasm, at least I found her enthusiasm and her belief in the work that was being done by Caribbean artists, both at home and beyond in the diaspora, was just so infectious. So we just couldn't resist. And that's how the partnership was formed.
Amazing. And Rene, I'm going to have to ask you, when it comes to the work that you do as the Manager of Community and Cultural Engagement, how important is cultural relevance when it comes to attracting the broader community to PAMA's various programming and exhibits?
Right. So I think our last census in 2016-17 said that the region of Peel had about 73% of people identifying as visible minorities. So for us at PAMA, that is huge. It means that we've got a real opportunity to connect with our audience who may not see themselves reflected in what's touted as fine arts or traditional art. So how do we then build an environment that our community sees themselves reflected? And it's really about reaching out to these diverse populations, engaging with them, listening, and finding out, how would you see yourself reflected? And we held a town hall, I believe early 2020. Actually, it would have been late 2019, where we had Black leaders come out from the region of Peel community. And we saw where the gaps really resided. And that really gave way to us to think of how we could engage, put on a fine art exhibition that reflected at least a small segment of our community that felt underrepresented.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because I think seeing the role that PAMA plays, not just within the Brampton community, because it's located in downtown Brampton, but just the role it plays across Peel. Peel is one of the most diverse areas within Ontario when you think about the demographics, when you think about who's living in these areas. And I find it awesome that PAMA decides to go a step further and really engage the community by even holding town halls. Because how often are you hearing about these art institutions doing town halls to get feedback on the programming that they should run, right?
Absolutely. And, I wouldn't want anyone to think this is in any means reactionary. These are things we had been doing for quite some time. So, this is before any kind of global unrest or even local unrest. And we've always thought about ways to engage the community. We don't want to tell other people's narratives. Mm-hmm. It's the community's story to tell. And that's why we partner, why we find guest curators, and we really want them to be the drivers of their own stories.
Amazing. Janice, I wanted to ask you, you're from Brampton, and you're obviously someone who's very well known within the photography community. What does being a part of One Night Stirred at Sea mean to you?
It means a lot. Being from the diaspora, you often feel like you're like a motherless child. And being able to attend CART earlier this year before the pandemic was definitely a treat, and being around with other artists and finding that camaraderie amongst each other. So being a Brampton artist and being, I guess, highlighted in this and being provided a platform as being shown at PAMA and being also featured at CART has done I guess, great things for my confidence, number one. Number two, you don't really hear about, I guess, the artists here in Brampton. So even being shown is going to have people to come out and be like, wow, okay, she's able to do it. I'm able to do it too. And probably give them inspiration to take their work a little bit further creatively. Right. Yeah. So it has done great things for my confidence being featured amongst amazing artists like Owen Gordon, Christina, Storm Salter. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still pinching myself that I'm being featured and being shown at PAMA, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it's a fantastic lineup, and to me, I think what really stood out from what you just said is just the whole representation factor, right? Like I think about the amount of talent that exists in an area like Brampton, for someone like you who's from the city, and to be able to have your work a part of such a prominent exhibit, I think it goes to show that, hey, Brampton has talent. Brampton belongs in these types of conversations and in these institutions, and that's what excites me about an exhibit like this, is just the opportunity that's truly opening up.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being from Brampton is seldom that there's particular spaces for us other than PAMA. We get this side push as like a smaller city in comparison to Toronto. So just being highlighted in this magnitude of being on like number one on a scale of globalness, right? With even like with UK artists, Caribbean artists, it's I'm sorry, but it's something to be very that I take away dearly, that, and not like I've made it, but it does put a little, okay, so I am doing something that people are interested in, and I am creating work that is worthwhile, that is being shown internationally, right?
Exactly. And Christina, I wanted to now turn the conversation over to you. You're someone that's been doing your thing for quite a while, who's very well known, not only within the GTA but all around. Having also studied having also studied photography up in OCAD. What can you tell us about the pieces you've chosen for this exhibit?
Well, thank you for having me. So I just wanted to say that. So the pieces, I should say, are kind of from a larger body of work titled Moron Bay. I think there's 9 featured in the PAMA exhibit, but typically my photographs kind of delve into my biraciality and my Jamaican heritage. And this work really does discuss my Jamaican heritage. I've been photographing Jamaica for a number of years, but 2018, I really wanted to hone in and focus primarily on my father's hometown of Morant Bay, Jamaica, which is on the southeast side of the island, and it's in the parish of St. Thomas. Now, what's interesting about Morant Bay specifically is that historically it has a very torrid past. It's the site of the 1865 Morant Bay Rebellion that was led by Paul Bogle. So if you're not familiar with Jamaican history, I think your listeners should. But with that in mind, I kind of wanted to create work that talked about just this narrative within the community. Typically, my father, when we went back, he really had a hard time really connecting back with his community. He felt like it was a place that the government kind of had forgotten about. Many of the roads were in disrepair. There was abandoned structures everywhere. Many of the buildings were dilapidated, and I could see that. So when I was hearing him speak about the memories of his hometown, I really wanted to capture the essence of what he thought was lost. So while I was primarily, the motivation was to kind of photograph these abandoned structures, particularly like my grandfather's home, it then turned and really me focusing on the actual community of people. So many of the photographs are documentations of the community. Within the fine art realm of photography, I think you don't really get to see the black Black representation on that level of fine art photography, particularly within documentary photography. So that's really where the motivation came, and a lot of the images I think do exhibit that. I guess for me, the most prolific one that probably one of the most people are most known for is that the falls image. And so I just kept revisiting sites that he felt were really important to him based on his childhood. So I documented those, such as the falls image, my grandfather's house. And I just also revisited family friends and people who he had reconnected. So it was about this whole journey of documentation. And while it's a continual body of work, I do think it's something that it still shows presence.
What kind of doors do you want to see open with an exhibit like this?
Well, I think what's really important is that the Caribbean diaspora in particular, I think there's an absence that I think have been seen within the larger artistic landscape. I think we've become very used to seeing images of the Black diaspora in connection to African American history, but we don't really get to see that within the broader sense of the Caribbean history and recognizing it takes many people to make up the Caribbean. So to see it I guess, elevated to the level of the status that is, such as what's being shown at PAMA, I think it's showing that our work is credible, that representation matters. I think we're acknowledging that there's a larger Caribbean diaspora within the UK, Canada, States, and elsewhere. So I'm hoping that as this exhibit is the duration of it, people will start seeing themselves represented, but they'll have this urge to keep wanting to see more artists who create work that you see in this show.
Yeah, no, it's truly fantastic. And I think the show itself will definitely speak volumes in regards to the amount of talent that exists, across many different communities and cultures. And to your point, I think sometimes that does go lost because sometimes we get a bit too focused on what's happening almost at a local level. And again, maybe North American, I'm considering that local, but sometimes you are just exposed to more North American art per se, that you don't really get to see stuff that's maybe outside, or maybe depending on some of these mainstream institutions that exist, sometimes they don't cover the communities that are around you, right? They're more so taking art and photography from other parts of the world and bringing it locally, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but sometimes you're missing out on stuff that maybe exists in your backyard.
Yeah, definitely. And I just to piggyback of what Janice said, she was speaking about Brampton, but even just being outside of the enclave of just Brampton, but just Toronto and the GTA, just to see yourself as a Canadian artist, because we're so used to seeing American contemporary art that we forget there's just even Canadian art to be represented within the larger landscape of the UK artists as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that's so important, and it does kind of make people realize who might be going to art school and doing that, keep making work, because your work matters and eventually it will land somewhere.
Exactly. Janice, I had one final question for you. What kind of feelings do you want to evoke with the pieces that you have chosen for this exhibit?
Well, mostly with pressure, and to just give you a little bit more background story. With pressure, I shot it with Mikkel, and Mikkel's the model that is featured in Pressure. I shot it within 2 hours, and it was just a connection between him and I. And with the work, it's just it embodies how I was feeling at the time. And I think that often we don't explore how introspectively how we feel, right? It battles with anxiety and subs of depression, just going discovering yourself and self-discovery. I want people to really question visually of what they see and how they connect with it. I know that with him being albino, a lot of people don't understand the background story of how I guess the type of suffering he had to go through. Like being from Kenya, with albinos, they sever and they take your limbs because they think that it cures them from certain ailments or something. So basically he was hunted. And so just having that type of conversation with him and having that be his story too, and overcoming that, and he is a Black man, right? So coming into, I guess, also understanding that he had to battle his identity in a different way that I had to battle my identity as with Blackness, right? So with pressure, I want people to really just take a step back. And yes, it's beautiful images. And it is expression of like male and femaleness. I like that he was the first male model that I ever shot. And I like that there's a softness to it. I still believe that there is a femininity gaze around it, right? So yeah, I want people to really just take away that the underlining of it, of the pressure that one has to go through their self-actualization, the death of the ego, and really battling oneself to become your full self, I guess, right? To say it not so eloquently.
No, but it truly came across like that. Like I think it's a powerful it's powerful work that you put forward, and I hope it does challenge the way people sort of look at themselves and look at others, because I think that's when you really have like that's when true art, I think, really shines, is when you start getting people to add a layer of reflection to it, right?
It's just that, like, with everything, it's just like knowledge of self and knowing that you can overcome anything. You might be assigned, or things might be projected onto you when it comes to your sex, race, your who you love, your gender. These things are also projected onto you, but they're not the final mandate of who you are as a person and how you express yourself as an individual here, right? So yeah, I really wanted my work to, with pressure, I really wanted, and hence why I named it Pressure, is because beautiful things could come out of force, like diamonds, right? You put pressure underneath and you can definitely make beautiful things out of it, right? And just being with him and hearing his story, and we created this beautiful body of work, that's what came out of it, the interaction with him and I.
Amazing. I wanted to thank everybody here on this Zoom call for joining me to talk about this exhibit. I'm very much looking forward to it. Sharona or Rene, this question's open to either one of you. What can we expect with the complete programming schedule? I know Thursday, October 29th is the virtual reception, and people can register at pama.puleregion.ca. But let us know about what else is on deck regarding When Nights Stirred at Sea.
Okay, I can speak to that. I just want to add also that in addition to the exhibition, we are going to be launching a microsite that's dedicated to the exhibition. So
Excellent.
There's going to be a really great online exhibition. And later on, we're going to be adding a 360-degree tour of the exhibition.
Oh, wow.
So you're going to have various ways of being able to access the exhibition and interacting with it. So we're really trying to give our users and our visitors the best that they can get out of it. So we're just, all kinds of experiences. So once you're done going through the exhibition, and hopefully you're not done going through the exhibition just once, we also have a lineup of programs, and we are going to start off with an art and book club that we're putting together. It's a program that's going to take place on November the 26th at 7 p.m. And it is done in partnership with Brampton Library, and participants will be led through a virtual tour of the exhibition, and then they will discuss a book that's called These Ghosts Are Family by Macy Card. And it deals with a woman's journey in life as she embarks outside of the Caribbean. So the idea behind this is that you get to pair a book with the exhibition, and you get to talk about a certain subject matter that the exhibition inspires. So that's something to look forward to. And then later on in November, I believe it's November 28th at 2 p.m., we have an artist talk. So a number of our artists, those who are working in photography, will be in discussion with one of our guest curators, Karen or Greg Manuel, who's also part of this exhibition. And they'll be discussing their work. And then we also have another lineup of artists in the exhibition on January 28th at 7 p.m. So that's next year. So we're going to have another program and another artist talk. So we'll be really happy to see everybody coming back again and being able to participate in these discussions.
Yeah, and I think it's fantastic that PAMA is still able to provide these experiences through a virtual means, and hopefully soon, depending on how the next couple months go, we're able to see some of these pieces in person as well, because I think that's an added experience, being able to really see. Fingers crossed. We're all hoping, and I have a good feeling that hopefully we'll be there by the time we get to January for sure. Big thank you to everybody here. Really enjoyed this conversation. Really looking forward to this exhibit. Big thanks to Aaron and Michelle for also being on this call, ensuring that I do a good job. But thank you, everybody. That's, again, When Night Stirred at Sea, which is in partnership with Caribbean Art Fair, the Black Artist Network and Dialogue, and guest curators Karen Carter, Greg Manuel. It begins virtually on Thursday, October 29th. So this Thursday, from when you're listening to this, go register at pama.peelregion.ca. And you do not want to miss it. Very, very powerful work. And we're very grateful that it's being exhibited in our community and at an institution like PAMA. We are going to take a quick commercial break here on New Theory Radio. And we're going to have more after this brief message here on News Talk, Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Welcome back to New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk, Saga 960 AM. This is the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture, and it is presented by PAMA, the Peel Art Gallery, Museum, and Archives. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Special thanks to my friends at PAMA for joining me to talk about When Night Stirred at Sea, a contemporary Caribbean art exhibit, which is taking place virtually beginning this Thursday, October 29th. For more details, visit pama.peelregion.ca. As well as special thanks to both Amanda and AJ, both from moviesmatrix.com, for joining me to talk about underrated/overrated Halloween movies. So hopefully you'll take those recommendations to heart and maybe include them on your list, because after all, it is spooky season, right? So yeah, so this concludes this week's edition of New Theory Radio. If you want to connect with us, it is at New Theory Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you want to connect with me, it is at Nav Nanwa on Instagram and Twitter. Big shout outs to my little brother, Nanwa, aka at Colorblind Photography _. Go send him a follow on Instagram. He is the mastermind behind all of our graphics. As well, special shout outs to the producer extraordinaire, Dusty Loops, at Dusty Loops. He is responsible for our theme song, as well as some of the other instrumentals that you hear throughout our shows each and every week. This is a wrap for another edition, so I hope all of you stay safe and sound, stay indoors, and hopefully if we continue to do this, we will get through all of this together and make it through to the other side. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you will hear all of us next time. Peace.
A little flexibility can go a long way. By refinancing your new or used auto loan with PenFed, you can lower your monthly payments for more flexibility in your budget. You can even schedule your first payment for up to 60 days from the date of your refinance. Calculate how much you could save at penfed.org/auto-refi or call 1-800-247-5626 to apply. Membership is open to everyone. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
Los profesionales lo saben. Esperar a que se sequen las molduras, puertas y gabinetes entre manos de pintura es tiempo y dinero perdido. Bare Premium de esmalte para gabinetes y marcos de The Home Depot te permite terminar más rápido. Con gran fluidez y nivelado se seca al tacto en 1 hora y con menos tiempo de secado estás menos tiempo en activo. Bare Premium de esmalte para gabinetes y marcos a $39.98 el galón. Y eso es antes del descuento Pro Extra. Solo en The Home Depot. Haces más, logras más. Disponible en tiendas y por internet.